Welcome to Cloud Realities, an original podcast from Capgemini, and this week in partnership with Google Cloud at Google Cloud Next 2025. I'm Dave Chapman.
I'm Esmee van der Giezen.
And I'm Rob Kernahan.
And I am delighted to say, for our second deep dive into industry, and this one retail and CPG, we have Kapil Dabi joining us, who's Google's Americas Director and Market Lead for Retail and CPG. Hey, how are you?
Good. Thank you for the invitation. I'm really looking forward to the podcast.
Great. Well, look, it's our pleasure, and thanks for taking time in a very busy diary, I'm sure.
It is full of new product innovations, the keynotes, and a lot of client and partner meetings. But these are the fun things, which I'm always excited about.
Well,
I wouldn't judge it before you've been through the experience.
Judge it in hindsight, maybe.
Yeah, probably.
So Robert's here, everybody. How you doing over there, Rob?
I'm still here.
You good? You doing well?
I'm all right. Yeah, not too bad. I feel like there's a good energy at this one.
Yes.
It's always a bit of a buzz. It's good.
Yes. And let's temperature check Esmee on her first Vegas and first Google Next expedition.
Oh, welcome.
So,
Thank you.
have you got through the overwhelmed bit of the curve yet?
Yeah, I think I've landed now. May also be due to the jet lag, to be honest, because that's quite intense.
It doesn't help.
It doesn't help, but today I feel like I've landed and we're also flying out on the same day, so that's perfect. But no, it's good. There's a good vibe. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
The good thing is Vegas never sleeps, right?
Yes.
That is the truth. And you lose track of time.
Yes.
Quite straightforwardly. How's your Next been this year so far?
The Next has been very exciting. I think we're super proud of the fact that we made so many new product innovation announcements, and I think especially around AI.
Yeah.
And, we've made tremendous progress from last year to this year. So, AI is almost disrupting businesses, and it's about business outcomes and no longer about technology.
Right.
So we are super excited. The Next has been very, very good. We're very proud that close to about 32,000, different people, our partners are here, our customers are here, and it's always good to, hear from them about their customer success stories. So far it has been very, very good.
It has been a good one. We've been remarking on a number of the shows just how significant some of the announcements have been.
Massive.
Sometimes like these things, naming no names or years, but sometimes you're scratching about a bit to find stuff to talk about. That has not been a problem this week, has it?
No. It's just amazing. As I said the other day, machine gun of announcements that came out, all diverse, good themes, all very proactive, sort of, powerful.
What's the headline for this show, Robert?
It's a hypercomputer, Dave. It's a hypercomputer built for AI.
Have you worked out why this is better?
It's very exciting.
Yeah,
I'll tell you why it's very exciting as an architect. It's got all the things that you need to do AI, the TPUs, the GPUs, high-performance networking, high-performance storage. It's all built in one box, open software, all converged together. Consumption-based use as well, so you can just use it as you need it, but it's like everything. Your one-stop shop, AI in a box. Yeah, and it's all highly specialized, extremely powerful, and it's there for you to use.
So I have a laptop on my lap. On it is Gemini.
Yeah.
It works pretty well.
Yeah, but you're a web interface into what is fantastic back-end architecture already. And what it is to bring this so anybody can use it.
That's the architect talking.
That's the architect.
Fantastic architecture in the background.
I can tell.
See why he hasn't answered the question yet.
No, but he can't get it. He finds this hard. But there's £75 billion worth of investment announced at the keynote going into this stuff. And this is the sort of thing you need when you want to run really high-end models fast.
Right.
I think you're making somebody happy here.
Yeah, look at this.
Yeah, starting to smile.
It's always good to know that we're going to change the world. And one of the things around the infrastructure that's the core foundation. So we are very happy and glad that the Ironwood TPU was announced yesterday, which is one of the fastest processing TPUs which we have. But more importantly, I think, is the rise of agentic AI. And the AI is all, we truly believe that the agents are actually going to change the way we live, the way we shop, the way we learn. And it is all about, when you look at the customer perspective, I think the customer experience is going to be fundamentally shifting, powered by personalization at scale. by agentic AI, but then you also think about your colleagues, your associates, their life is going to fundamentally change as well. So when you think about customer service reps, think about store associates, giving the power of agents, which you can use to basically help your customer service, or your or product assortments, or or your inventory within the store. Means these are all the use cases which we truly believe that with the rise of agentic AI, you're going to change the world.
And so to do all that funky stuff, Dave, it's better done on a hypercomputer, right? You need a hypercomputer. So all that good stuff, all that goodness, more efficient, more cost effective, faster on the hypercomputer.
It's all about price and performance, So that's an important element when you're scaling.
Well, look, before we dive into retail, we've got a bit of a retail case study that you might have a view on. Robert.
What are you doing now?
You got any flag requirements?
Oh, yeah. So the flag guy's back.
Flag guy.
The flag guy's back, which I always think, I have this thing about optimistic spam, which is, how does it work, right? So spam's still a thing, and they're sending out, I've been offered all sorts of weird things, chainsaws, everywhere else. And on my LinkedIn post about this, chainsaws, I'm like, I know,
anything else.
I
don't know what personalization is.
No, exactly. Very low level personalization. So I've put a post out about Google Next. It's gone quite well, and lots of comments, etc. And at the bottom, optimistic spam for all your flag requirements. Yeah. Ring this number, and then a picture of some flags. Yeah. And it's happened before, and it's like, who goes to LinkedIn, reads a post about Google Next, and think, you know what, I do need a flag. I best ring that number. And it's that the optimism of it is amazing. And so he's back, the flag guy's back. So if you do have any flag needs, I'm going to plug him now. Go to the LinkedIn post from me, and you'll see it as the comment. I've left it there. So in case you do want to buy a flag.
The thing I wonder about from a retail and marketing strategy perspective, flags don't seem to be something that you would kind of just be a passerby and think, oh, you know what? I'd never thought about that, but I do need a flag. Rather than like, I actually do need a flag, so I'll go and seek out a flag manufacturer.
Okay.
I think my go-to market would be probably different. I don't know whether you've got a view on that.
Yeah, I mean, the whole idea is that, at the end of the day, what is your consumer looking for? And sometimes the consumer doesn't know what they're looking for.
We didn't know.
True.
So what we call this thing in retail is inspirational shopping.
Yes.
Okay, so sometimes, there's a lot of retailers or a lot of consumers goes and says, look for a very, very specific flag. So you might say, hey, I'm going to look for my son is a big geography fan, and so he loves Italy. So he's like going to look explicitly for an Italian. But there are a lot of people really do not know what they're really looking for. And this is where I think the generative AI can really, really help. The Geminis of the world, our Vertex AI for search platform is actually very, very powerful in doing and helping customers with the inspirational shopping. So you can give a very pinpointed statement. I'm looking for a very specific dress for a gala. Or you can go as broad and say, I do not know what I'm looking for, but I'm looking for a
cloud realities flag.
Yeah. Cloud realities flag.
Now, Marcel, get on that, will you? Contact the flag guy, cloud realities flag. We'll have it here.
4 weeks.
Look very formal, like the UN. We'll have loads of flags lined up. Yeah.
So to pull that, a little bit, the inspirational shopping is where the generative AI truly comes and helps you out. And on top of that, you can actually build a conversational agentic AI, which means that, once you start talking and it still maintains the context. So in this scenario, you're looking for cloud realities flag, but the cloud could be multiple ways. It could be designed in a different way. My color preference would be blue, and so on and so forth. So you're starting broad, but then using generative AI to actually come to the closure. So the idea about all these things is most of the retailers have thousands of SKUs, but how in matter of clicks, you're able to move from thousands of SKUs to basically 10 so that you can actually help them with the purchase. So at the end of the day, the intention is keep the context, keep the customer intent, but then actually lead them to purchase.
Look at that. There's some advice for flag guy.
Yeah, there you go. So what he needs is a bit of agentic AI on his flag.
Revolutionize his go-to-market. Now, let's just zoom out from flag guy and just talk about retail more generally. Obviously, your day job, you're spending time with customers and looking at how the market's evolving. and some, there's some very obvious adoption stories in the world of retail these days. But before we get going, what's your take on where the industry's up to?
Yeah.
And I sort of, in that, what's going on in my head behind that question is almost way back to sort of the late 90s with early .com online shopping, highly disrupted, things like COVID disrupting high streets. So where are we up to? Because it's been a hell of a ride for retail.
Yes, and retail is getting disrupted. And the interesting piece we always tell is more than retailers, the consumers are actually shifting. Their behavior is shifting the most. And the reason is because they have access to AI faster than actually retailers. So when you think about doing a Google search, we're already using Gemini. When you think about going and doing conversation on WhatsApp, you're already using Meta AI. So the consumers are actually have a more advanced than the retailers. And that's where I think the retailers really need to come in and then meet the consumers where they are. So think about the consumer's perspective, the way they live, usage of GenAI, the way we shop. They're expecting, the search to be that powerful where, you're not typing and browsing. The way we engage, people are no longer engaging on the retailer's website, but they're also engaging in YouTube. They're engaging at TikTok. Right. The influencers are there. So the whole idea here is the consumer is shifting and is shifting at a much massive pace. The retailers now to really step in, and this is where I think we truly feel that the rise of agentic AI, the generative AI of the world, have to really step in and then can actually help retailers leapfrog some of those things. Because the consumers are really there and we are actually helping retailers meet the consumers where they are. So it's all about business outcomes eventually for the retailers.
Right.
So that's the shift which we're seeing. But you're right. Back in the 90s, it was all about .com. Then the metaverse came, and now it's AI. And
you don't hear much about the metaverse these days, do you?
Yes, we don't. And it was once upon a time a big thing.
Everyone trying to work out if they had to have shops. And did a shop need to look like a physical shop, or could it look different in the metaverse?
Yes,
I remember those days.
Although there was an interesting change that's happened. It was out Far East first. Is the social media influencer purchase thing, where you never used to do this before, but you watch somebody talk about a product, click a button, and then you can order it. That's a whole new shopping experience for that, which is the. I trust this person who's talking about it, therefore I'm going to buy it. So that influence-led sales is a big change as well that's happened in retail.
It is. In my view, the way when we talked about the way consumers are engaging with brands and the shopping piece, especially, social commerce is one of the fastest growing channels.
Yeah.
And
right.
especially, retail is also, sort of, I would say, there's specific categories. So like think about luxury or apparel. There's more influencer-based purchasing there, or more social commerce-based purchasing. A single tweet can actually increase your sales, or so it's all about being present where your consumers are present. So for retailers like luxury, fashion, you are actually more on the social commerce side. You're more on the influencer side. There's a lot of celebrities are also there who are actually promoting some of these things. So to your point, yes, absolutely. The social commerce is one of the fastest growing channels.
And it's a thing that it's caused me to buy some things because it's low friction. You just hit the button, you go click, and you go, oh, all right, actually I do want that. And it's I didn't know I wanted it. Somebody I like to watch on social media said it's quite cool. Oh, all right, I'll try it. It works. I've been influenced. Mate, Dave, I've been influenced.
You might get a flag guy might come up in your feed now after we've been talking about it.
I think I'm going to connect to him.
Yeah, should. I wonder if he does any influence selling.
He's trying.
Yeah, he's trying. Anyway, so we talked about the changing conversation from I'm thinking about AI. How can I possibly apply it to? I've got a business strategy and I'm trying to supercharge that with AI. Just what is changing in that conversation for you, and I'm actually also interested in where is that conversation happening in the organizations you're talking to.
That's actually a great shift which we have seen from 2024 to 2025. I think it's no longer a technology conversation. It's actually becoming a business conversation, and our goal is to actually. So the narrative which I was talking is shifting from what is your AI strategy to what is your business strategy and how can you actually enable. So think about for an example, let's take about personalization. back in the days, personalization was like, for a cohort of people. Today, we are talking personalization at scale, but then also for an individual.
Right.
Okay. So think about like, if I'm purchasing something, like in your flag example, right? You are actually getting a promotion for just you based on your preferences, and you're not getting a promotion or an email or something which is meant and sent to
The
vast majority of the
chainsaw
world.
is very specifically
part
for
was-
you
Chainsaw is very
because we've never
specific,
had
yeah.
a chainsaw.
I live in the UK, and the chainsaw spam was from Boston, Massachusetts. So, I mean, that's like the lack of targeting in that
Yes.
spam was amazing.
But that's the thing, is that probably if there was generative AI used, they are so capable, the models are so capable today that humans are not able to figure out the relationship between some of these elements. The purchasing behavior, the localization aspect, the assortments which you have bought in the past, all of those things come together, and they're able to figure out, are you the right audience? And for that audience, you're able to actually create a very personalized, either an offer or a product or price, whatever we want to talk, but just think.
Do you see differences in generations? Because you also hear that the younger generation is actually opting out of all personalized. Is that true, or is that?
It depends upon different industry. I think that's why there's a massive rise in private labels, because people are not differentiating between a product versus another brand versus another brand. The idea is that eventually we always say, know your customer.
Yeah.
Okay, and every retailer would be different. Every company is different. Somebody is selling to Gen Z, somebody is selling to boomers. The question is, if you know your customers and if you know where your customers are, so in this scenario, if they're opting out, but they're buying somewhere else. So how do you basically ensure that you are in those channels where your customers are, right? So it's all about knowing your customer a little bit more intimately than what we have done in the past. And actually, the generative AI truly helps know your customer, because it can track all the micro moments of your journey, and you capture all those things and pull it together, which was never possible in the past.
And just returning to the shift we talked about there from sort of AI centric to business centric strategy, superpowered with AI. Where are the conversations happening in organizations? Are they in the IT function still? Have they now gone out, and are they at business line level, and are they meeting at the board? And is that a uniform picture across the sector?
It's I wouldn't say there's a blueprint. So there's not a uniform picture. It all depends upon the maturity of a retailer. I think in 2024, the conversations were more around like, let's do a use case here, let's do a use case here. And it was more technology driven.
Yeah.
I think the shift which we are seeing is now it's like in the C-suite. Okay. It's this CMO is talking about content creation.
Right.
Through GenAI. The chief digital officers are talking about, hey, how should I improve search on my digital property? And it should be generative AI driven. Similarly, so the different lines of businesses who are actually the business owners are actually getting involved, because you can truly impact the business outcomes. And the KPIs are there. Like if somebody is looking for customer acquisition cost, like a CMO is looking for customer acquisition cost, or somebody who runs operations looking for operational KPIs. So we are talking actually now at the presidents and the C-suites of those lines of businesses, and we are helping them out with the business outcomes. And that's the conversation shift which we are thinking has happened from 2024 to 2025.
And just staying with a portrait of the leadership conversation for a second, we've talked to a couple of your colleagues this week about what I'm referring to as adoption lag, which is, the organizations like your good selves are innovating at such an incredible rate at the moment. It's unprecedented, I suspect. And customer organizations naturally are always sort of trailing that innovation. And it seems to me that the influx and complexity of this stuff is overwhelming sometimes. So that's maybe slowing down adoption a little bit. So the lag, because you guys are speeding up, is getting bigger potentially. You're right in the middle of that actually, and you're obviously part of your role is to close that down as much as is humanly possible. Where do you think retail is in terms of adoption lag?
I think we are seeing different aspects of adoption. But again, in 2025, we are thinking of AI at scale. At the large companies like Walmart's, Home Depot's, Lowe's of the world who have quickly adopted, and retailers who have adopted I truly believe that they're winning in the market and are going to stay competitive. However, not every retailer is actually, want to be actually in the forefront of some of these things. And they learn from others. And I think this is where the adoption sort of comes into picture. The scalability has a perfect balance of, are we going to talk about personalization? Let's say personalization is an example. Are we going to talk personalization at scale versus balance with operational efficiency? Because, you have to sort of manage the two things. And that's, I think, is the fundamental thing that we truly believe that if you truly want to scale, start small, but it should be impactful, should be targeted, it should be measurable. So measuring your ROI is a critical component. So our suggestion is always to retailers who are actually starting is like start small, but make it more measurable, make it more ROI driven. And the ROI is an important component because if you don't see the ROI, then basically it's not going to be scalable. So the shift has happened that don't look at your, hey, I'm going to do a use case here. Think about your current existing problem and think about how AI can solve that existing problem versus basically AI is not here to find new problems. AI is here to solve your existing problems, but in a much better, faster way. That's the fundamental shift, I think. Yeah.
And maybe just to bring our conversation today to a bit of a conclusion, what do you see in the industry over maybe the next 6 to 18 months as being some of the biggest shifts that you're anticipating?
I think I'll go back to the agentic AI. I think what we are seeing today is, even today, if you walk the floor here also, you're going to see everybody is talking about agents.
Yeah, for sure.
But they're talking about agents specific to, let's say, content creation for marketing or customer service agent. I think fundamental shift is going to happen about multi-agent systems. Okay, so this is where you're going to take a complex workflow, complex business problem like supply chain. For a retailer or a CPG company. And then how do you stitch those agents together? So it's all about orchestration of those agents to solve an end-to-end business problem. So think about supply chain, there's assortment, there's forecasting, there's replenishment, there's logistics, there's last mile delivery. Now think about the complexity of those things and put it actually in today's world. It's even more complex. Now think about each of those elements are run by different agents, but they need to talk to each other. And that's one of the reasons, like one of the announcements which we just did yesterday was agent-to-agent protocol, which in essence now the two agents can talk each other seamlessly. So I think that's the fundamental shift again.
That protocol was probably the one that stood out to me too. It was relatively low key, I thought, in terms of how it was announced, but like it is absolutely enormous and game changing in its potential. And I loved your supply chain analogy there because it's like it's not just intra organization, it's inter-organization. And supply chains is a really good sort of model for that.
Yes. Yeah. So, and that's why we truly believe that and supply chain is just one very complex, but think about product design, another example, right? Especially think about fashion. Like, you have to release new products every 6 months. Think about that design and can you really enable that product design, not in months, but basically in days, and basically agents can actually help create some of those designs. We are already working with some of the retailers who can actually do sketch to image.
Right.
Or sketch to 3D printing. Or, now you can see, you can actually create videos with the agents, the models which we.
Well, you
launched.
you paint a very interesting image there because it could be, you would talk to an agent and be like, make me a orange T-shirt with a picture of a banana on it and a picture of an apple on the back with my name on and then it literally instantiates that for you and posts it to you.
Correct. Yeah. So that's the power of personalization, right? Again, it goes back to that the personalization is for me versus like I'm creating 100 T-shirts for everybody, right? And I think truly the content creation piece, in my view, is a game changer. Like we can now do images, right? We can create videos. We recently announced that we can actually now create text to music. So you can actually create music or text to speech. These are like brand new models which we just launched yesterday. And now you can create an entire, I would say, an ad with just prompts.
Yeah, amazing.
So it's very, very powerful.
Well, look, on that note, thank you very much for joining us today and painting such an interesting picture of the industry.
Thank you, Dave.
Now, all week this week, we've been trying to get our heads around the sort of the magical aspect of what we're seeing. It is probably the first time in my career, I think, that I've been at one of these conferences and you actually sort of slightly mind blown by the possibility of some of it. Some of it can be a bit scary, but also there's a good deal in it that's really interesting. And we were very sort of inspired by Arthur C. Clarke's third law, which is any technology that's sufficiently powerful is indistinguishable from magic.
Right.
And I think we are legitimately seeing some magical technology. Yes. And we've been wondering with our guests this week what's inspired them from a magical perspective. So who was your favorite magician when you were growing up?
I think right here in Vegas, we have seen David Blaine perform wonderful acts, and it's always tricky to see as a kid that is that possible.
Right.
And your analogy is really good because we actually just launched this Wizard of Oz. If you have you've seen the announcement that it's a iconic film, and we have used Google Cloud, Google DeepMind, and Sphere Studios, and we have combined all the technology, the VO2s and the Imagine 3s of the world. And we are able to bring that picture onto a 16K by 16K, which is enormous. So the whole concept, like we have to literally use generative AI to generate the super resolution or, art painting. It is definitely insane. It's almost like magic.
Yeah. Exactly that. I'd love to see David Blaine though, actually. What was the memorable illusion that he did at the show?
I think it's always, as a kid, it's always... more memorable when they take a person and split into half. Two halves.
Oh, yeah.
Like, oh man, how did that happen, right?
That's where the your chainsaw comes in.
Probably that's the chainsaw we use.
Well, Kapil, thanks again.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was wonderful.
If you'd like to discuss any of the issues on today's show and how they might impact you and your business, please get in touch with us at cloudrealities@capgemini.com. We're all on LinkedIn. We'd love to hear from you. So feel free to connect and DM if you have any questions for the show to tackle or questions about flags or chainsaws. And of course, please rate and subscribe to our podcast. It really helps us improve the show. A huge thanks to Kapil, our sound and editing wizards, Ben and Louie, our producer Marcel, and of course to all our listeners. See you in Google's Reality next.